Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. In this video I will cover the Bob Carver 180 monoblocks. Hello and welcome back. I had to make a video about this equipment because it's some of the best equipment I've ever tried, and I'm still quite unsure why it's this good. I think this amplifier completely changes the market in regards to how much performance you can get for your money, because this type of performance is just absolutely ridiculous. I've never heard it completely new. I visited friends that have bought this thing used, and they usually only paid like 4 to 6, maybe $8,000 for this thing used as a set of monoblocks. I'm just going to cover the sound aspects, and in the end, I'm going to cover the conclusion. So if we look at the bass area, it actually has a very good bass. Now, when I write 60 out of 100, that's basically the best possible ever sound. So 60 is really, really good. It has a really good developed bass. Nothing there at all, nothing there. And the treble, it could be a tiny bit more of that top end. It is a bit in the safe area, but very extended, very good. You don't really feel that loft hitting you. Great. And the mid-range actually is a bit better, which is good because most of the sound comes from the mid-range. So really good, way above average. Dynamics, that's one of the things that a lot of tube amplifiers can't really do, that they kind of lean back and keep it too safe, and you can kind of predict where the sound is going. It's a bit on the conservative side many times with tubes, but it's just really good dynamics and detail, very good detail, but it's not just detail, but you've got substance. So you can really feel the instruments and the way that it moves the picture from the left channel to the right channel and goes deeper into it past the wall. Overall, it's just a very sexy sound, very, very fresh sound, but still very safe, but not too safe. And it's just a very highly evolved type of sound that you usually only see from high performance gear like Negra or some really, really, really expensive tube gear. So absolutely amazing. Black level, I'm not really sure if I hit it right with 65 out of 100. That could easily be because it parks the sound on the slightly safe sound, safe side. So it could be that I'm wrong with that, but it felt like the black levels were pretty good. And naturality, again, one of those parts of the sound that you can't really get at a very high level typically when you're paying this amount of money. Very, very highly evolved and natural sound. And then soundstage, again, a lot more 3D than you normally get from tubes. So it's nice that it isn't overly warm and too safe. So clarity, yeah, I felt that it was held slightly back compared to the very best gear on the market, but I mean that's what you get for the price, so that's fine. But when we go down to power and control, I feel that this thing is almost in a class of itself, because it just has the ability to listen to your speaker, to listen to the room that you're in and adjust itself, which I don't feel that any equipment out there really can do. I mean, I've opened a Bob Carver amplifier up and I've looked in it, with a couple of technicians, but it's actually not a very high quality build. But I think what they're doing is that they're using a special type of design that no other manufacturers really has done before, meaning that it gives the illusion that there's like 5 or 10 times more expensive parts in it when there really isn't. So amazing, amazing being able to do that. Because when I listen to Macintosh gear, I can hear that when I listen very closely to what's going on. I can hear that the quality of parts in it aren't very good, and there's a lot of chips in it, and they're just trying to compensate for that. And when you listen to that for a long period of time, you just immediately see through that, And I don't feel that you do that with the Bob Carver 180 monoblocks. I'm not sure about the newer gear that they make. It might be better. I haven't heard it yet, but it's at a totally different price. I just feel that I had to cover this in a video because it was just so exciting to listen to proper tube sound. I really wish that when I had started my hi-fi journey that I had gear like this to start with, because when I started my hi-fi journey, I went into Vincent, Musical Fidelity, and standard tube sound, and in the later end I went over to Macintosh Ian and other tube sound like that. And yeah, it got a lot better, but it still felt like it was kind of holding back on the detail and fully releasing the sound, and that's what I feel that this really has. It has that charisma, that drive, that excitement, that thing that makes you want to listen to all your bad recordings. It's amazing having this higher quality of sound and being able to listen to bad recordings. And that's exactly what the Bob Carver does. It's able to adjust to basically all the recordings that you have, all the speakers that are made in the world, or at least most of them. I haven't tested them all, but the level of grip that it has on any speaker, where it's able to adjust to that speaker and through that speaker listen to your room, to the acoustics, to again adjust itself. It's absolutely remarkable. And so if you find a piece of gear, Bob Carver 180 blocks, go and get it. Just make sure that it works, because I tried it with a couple of transistor preamplifiers and it sounded pretty good, better than normal. But then I coupled it with a basic Audio Note M3 preamplifier, and oh my god, did it just sound ridiculously good. Features, I would say that it doesn't offer a lot of that, because it is tube sound, and that's what you get. So Bob Carver has obviously put all their effort into the sound, and it gives you, it makes a lot of sense. So they don't compensate for bad sound, so they don't have to make up in that area. So we can't really blame them for that. Pride of ownership, it's not quite up there with Macintosh, but it looks really cool. And by the way, if you change the tubes for something that's quite a bit better and have a really good preamplifier, you will hear that. It is a very, very evolved type of sound. So to conclude, it's just wow is all I can say. It's just absolutely ridiculous, the performance that you get for the price. And yeah, it's probably around $4,000 to $8,000 used as a pair. That's my guess here in 2020, in my country at least. And with this level of sound, you would think that it would be up in the $50,000 to $100,000 range. I just can't wrap my head around it, especially how well it sounds with the Audio Note preamplifier that I mentioned before. But yeah, you do get sound that is better than this, but typically when you get sound that's better than this, then prepare to pay what what a home usually costs, So so it's either having a home or having a much better amplifier. So yeah, you can actually hear that. Just like I said before, that listens to the speaker, listens to the room, but it can also drive most speakers around 80 dB with a really bad ohm load, which not really any tube amplifier can do. Usually you have to have when you have a tube amplifier, usually you have to have something that's in the 90, 91, 92 dB range before it actually starts sounding good. But it can handle a speaker around 80 dB and sound pretty good, a lot better than the normal. But negatively, I would say that it's still AB class watts, and it's not the best built. What do you call it? It's not the best component parts that have been used when you look inside of it. Meaning that what it does basically is it basically takes the considered top range tube sound, which most people would think is Macintosh and ear, and like gives it an extra 10%. But it's just more responsive, it's more released in sound. It feels more convincing. Where when you listen to Macintosh, it has a tendency of being a bit boring and laid back compared to this on the conservative side. And ear has a tendency of being a bit bright and diva-ish, a bit aggressive sometimes. So I feel that this is kind of smoothed out compared to ear, but still developed, not held back. So, and again, the sound is also a bit linear, which is very rare from tubes. And usually when you get a linear type of detail, then we're usually talking about Negra VPA tube sound like 10 years ago, and that was extremely expensive sound. Also around, I think around $100,000. It's almost like that. I know the Negra has a more analytical type of sound, but that's that. But I've also heard from people that were able to run it without a preamp. So I haven't heard it myself. It might sound pretty good, but I just don't expect it to be anywhere near the same sound with a really good preamp. So, but I've only heard these brands that's been able to beat this monoblock set. But then we're also talking higher prices, a lot higher prices. And when we're talking higher prices, it's usually in the 10 to 2 to 10 times more category. And then when you get brands like Griffin, D'Agostino, Negra, Spectral, Kondo, Audionote, those are top brands. They basically make the most expensive gear in the world, and at the same time have some of the best ever sound that you can buy for money. So yeah, they can obviously make a sound that is quite a bit better than this, but it also comes at a price. So I have to mention that it beats the YBA signature transistor gear on the market, and that's really good gear. Even the Tube Guru 211 SE, which is a really good amplifier, I would say that this thing beats it by like 1.5 times. It's just so much more adjustable to the equipment than that Tube Guru, and fine in detail. And I would say, this is my personal opinion. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I've listened to Macintosh, Paslabs, Mark Levinson, Class A, and AudioFlight, and those were in good and bad rooms. I've heard it at places. I've owned some of that gear. I would say easily that this Bob Carver is easily better than that, because what I'm hearing with the Bob Carver is a more direct short circuit response. Whereas when I'm going for the Macintosh, Passlights, Mark Levinson Class A Audio Flight type of gear, I mean, it's impressive gear. They all have their own type of sound, but I can still, in the end, hear the digital negotiation and the circuitry being extended for like 5 or 10 times more, because that's a long part of circuitry. There's a lot of parts on that circuitry, and that's what I can hear with my ears. But let me know in the comments what you guys think, and remember to click and subscribe. Have a nice day. Bye.